Welcome to the Airgun Show. This week we put the Webley VMX D-RAM through its paces on the test range, but first up I'm faced with a frustratingly tough pest control assignment on the farm. On a mixed farm today where the farmers asked us to come and thin out some jackdaws. Apart from eating animal feed, they're causing problems because they're nesting at the moment. They're collecting and forcing twigs into gaps in barn roofs. They're also forcing twigs behind the expensive solar panels on the farmer's roof, which he's really not happy about. Other than that, nesting jackdaws have a habit of dropping twigs down into chimneys. Now those twigs eventually jam and build up to the level that the jackdaws want to get them to. That brings a real risk of chimney fire. The twigs are tinder dry and you can get a massive build-up, and if somebody lights a fire underneath that, it could be absolutely lethal. So they're the main reasons for us controlling these jackdaws. We were here a few weeks ago and it was incredibly difficult. There were quite a few birds about and it looked like we were going to have a reasonable day, but quickly dawned on us, whichever side of the farm we were at, the jackdaws were just cottoning on, moving across to the other side. And we were back and forth for several hours, didn't shoot any. Now the plan is today I've brought my hide building kit, so hopefully I'm going to build a nice cocoon in a dark shadowy barn. Fingers crossed that will keep us well hidden. We'll be able to draw one or two jackdaws within range and hopefully pick a few off. That's the plan anyway.
First off, choosing the location, and I've got one in mind.
Looks like a good hide site here. First of all, we've got the shade that's being cast by the barn roof above us, so that helps with concealment immediately. Also, a couple of structures here. You've got the bales on this side and the tyres on the other side, and that just gives me something into which I can weave the hide so it doesn't look like some blot on the landscape suddenly appeared here. Of course, the roof will also be useful if the weather turns. More importantly, we're within about 25 metres of a couple of fairly clear city trees. Now, I'm using the BSA Ultra SE at legal limit power today, so it's nice and quiet, nice and compact, so it should handle quite well in the confines of the hide, but it means I'm just thinking about taking shots that little bit closer, so the distance to those city trees is all important today. Well, that hide's not going to build itself. One of the most important considerations when building a hide is a nice comfy place to sit, because it could be a long day. Anyway, better get cracking. Right, that's the 4 hide poles that will give us the support for the net that will provide the actual screen. Now, we've been fortunate here because the ground is hard as nails, but luckily I've managed to push poles into the bales here and jam them in between the tyres on that side, so they're nice and rigid.
With the poles in place, the hide can start to come together. I'll need enough netting to stop too much light coming through the hide and revealing my silhouette, so I'll be using several nets. The front section is fastened in securely at the base. This is important. If your hide flaps around too much in the wind, it'll give the game away. Then, the second net goes over the top. I'll need to fix this one down too, but I've got a different method for that.
That's the roof on. Useful little tip, I'm joining 2 pieces of hide netting now. In my hide building bag I carry these plastic coated lengths of gardening wire, what you'd use for tying in roses, and all I do when I'm fixing 2 pieces of hide netting together, pull them in, overlap them, pop that through the gaps in the net, back on itself, 1 or 2 twists, fold it back so it doesn't spike me next time I catch hold of it. There you go, 2 pieces of hide netting fixed together, and they won't flap in the wind, and shouldn't let chinks of light in either.
And with one final touch, the hide is complete.
Right, so that's the last piece on. Obviously the hide's got the front and the roof on it, but I just felt like it needed more of a backdrop to stop us from being silhouetted from anything looking in at the front. So just to break up our outline slightly, I've put a nice, quite a dark scrim net on the back, just to give us a backdrop.
But there's just one more job to take care of before I start shooting.
Right, the farmer's wife's been feeding birds here. She's got fat balls out in a feeder. I'm just scattering in a bit of bread round to add to the effect because the jackdaws have cottoned onto the fat balls, and I'm hoping that with some bread scattered around on the grass here, we'll pull them back in. Right, we've got some bait out, the hide's built. All we can do now is sit and wait.
And so the wait begins. I've taken all the precautions I can, with my face and hands covered, to make sure the birds can't glimpse a flash of skin behind the hide. But an air gunner's luck is never guaranteed. Despite all my attention to camouflage, the jackdaws clearly know something is up. Time ticks on, and I don't even get a sniff of a shot. It's time for Plan B.
Right, looks like the jackdaws have beaten us again. We've been here for a couple of hours. There are birds moving, but they're not committing to land within range. They know we're here, and they're avoiding us. What I have seen is 2 or 3 wood pigeons have passed by quite close now. The farmer has mentioned that he's got problems with wood pigeons, feral pigeons too, messing in the buildings. Fortunately, because I've got my hide building kit, I've got a few pigeon decoys in the bag. I'm going to pop those out now, see if we can salvage something from the day. Right, I've just set out 3 pigeon decoys in a small triangle formation on quite an exposed area of grass between the barn and a couple of city trees. I've placed them facing into the wind because pigeons tend to take off and land facing into the wind, so that looks natural. But I've moved them about a little bit. I don't want them lined up like soldiers. The pattern's fairly random, and fingers crossed it will persuade 1 or 2 of the pigeons that have been passing to commit to landing within range.
I'm determined to get some success from this hide, and the change of quarry might just do the trick. It's time to cover up again and get ready for another wait. At first all's quiet, and it seems like luck just isn't with me. Then finally, I get my chance.
There's a pigeon. It's quite a way beyond the decoys.
This wood is clearly settled, but it's a little further out than I'd like, and I want to be sure of a clean shot through the gate. As it pecks its way closer to me, I can take the shot.
Flapped about a bit because he was headshot, but he's dead. I'm going to go and pick it up.
A pigeon is better than nothing for a day's shooting, but it's not what I came for. The jackdaws are still taunting me from the distant trees. They win this round, but I'll be back.
Well, jackdaws have given us a right run around again. Haven't had a single chance at them. I'm not sure what the solution is going to be here, to be honest with you. All I can guess today is that we set the hide up when the jackdaws were already flighting. They saw us, they cottoned on to us, what I'm going to try doing is leave the hide here and try and come back another day pretty soon, come back before it gets light. Then I'm in position, the jackdaws won't see me arriving. Fingers crossed, they'll be less suspicious then. That said, at least deployed with the pigeon decoys salvaged something from the session. It's only a small contribution towards the farmer's pest control, but at least I'm going home with something for the pot, so it wasn't a wasted day as far as I'm concerned. And I don't know when I'm beaten, so I'm going to give it another hour anyway. That certainly goes to show that Airgun Quarry doesn't always read the script. And now, it's over to the Airgun Show news.
This is the Airgun Show news. Build-up has begun to this year's Airarms RSN 10 Memorial Open Cup Challenge, taking place at Northall Farm in East Sussex on Sunday the 7th of September. Open to all, the competition will be shot over two 25 target courses and scored out of 100. Top prize is an Airarms FTP 900 worth £1,500. Entry is £12 and includes lunch, refreshments and afternoon tea. Shooters must arrive before the 9:30 AM safety briefing. Owners of Theoburn Rapids can now fit a scope with a 30mm tube, thanks to a new mount from Sportsmatch. The tough two-piece mount is made in Great Britain to the usual high standards you expect from Sportsmatch, and simply replaces the standard 1-inch mount on Rapids. They retail at just under £50 and they are guaranteed for life. The Jackpike gang have had the company wheels re-wrapped in their new Wildlands pattern. The truck's new look was applied just in time for harvest, with the soft cream and brown tones providing excellent camouflage in the cereal crops, grassland and reeds. Let's just hope it's easier to find in the car park than on the stubbles. News from the South Yorkshire Game Fair is that dogs will now be allowed on site during the fair. The ground owners initially had a no dogs policy in place, but after negotiations with fair organisers, they've now agreed to relax the policy for the duration of the show. Another first is that South Yorkshire Police will be at the show to talk to gun owners and answer any questions they might have about licensing and the law. The fair takes place at Doncaster Racecourse on the 4th and 5th of October. And finally, Blaze Publishing has launched a new digital magazine called iShoot. Packed with digital and interactive content, the magazine will boast written and video features about all aspects of shooting. Contributors include Peter Carr, Wes Stanton, Jeff Garrett, James Marchington, Byron Pace and many more of the country's best shots. The first issue is available now from iShootMag.com. That was the Airgun Show news.
Something a bit different this week. I've been putting the Webley VMX D-RAM through its paces. It's a gun that I'd refer to as an affordable brake barrel, though it's not spring powered. It's actually powered by a gas ram, so the piston's driven by a gas strut. That should result in faster, smoother power delivery, plus your average gas ram tends to last longer than a mainspring. This gun certainly is functional in appearance and looks like it could stand up to the knocks and bumps inflicted by an unforgiving owner. The stock's very tactical in appearance, but it also serves as a very good handle. It's stippled for grip at the fore end, and there's also stippled grip panels on the pistol grip. They certainly improve how it sticks to the hand, although that said, the entire finish of the stock is actually quite grippy. Profiled cheek piece gives perfect eye alignment for a telescopic sight as long as you're not going too big with the objective lens. This one's on relatively low mounts, 32mm. The eye alignment's fine. The ambidextrous synthetic stock is quite light, keeping down overall weight to about 2.9 kilos unscoped. That actually makes the gun feel a little bit front heavy, although that said, once you've got a scope and mounts fitted, that draws some of the weight back towards your shoulder, and overall balance is actually pretty comfortable. Overall finish of the gun's very impressive, especially considering this gun's price tag. I would describe the finish of the metalwork more as blacking than bluing, but that actually suits the black stock very well. Open sights come fitted, and the True Glow system really does glow thanks to the fibre optics. The rear sight is micro adjustable for windage and elevation. The ramped front element sits on this smart looking muzzle brake. That also serves as a brilliant gripping point when it comes to cocking the gun. As good as the open sights are, if you really want to exploit the full accuracy potential of this gun, you might want to fit telescopic sights, and the cylinder's grooved to accept mounts. It also comes with an arrestor plate, and that has 3 separate locking points, so you can screw it down behind your rear scope mount, and that will just prevent any risk of it creeping under the recoil of the gun. Highland Outdoors supplied this gun with the AGS VMX 4x32 scope. That comes with mounts for £37.99. For the price, it's a great little mil-dot scope with a surprisingly bright sight picture. Down to the important business of cocking the gun. It's just a question of a quick tap on the end to release the barrel, and then drawing it all the way down through that cocking stroke until the sears engage with quite a positive click. This gun's 109 centimetres long, which makes it seem like quite a man-sized gun. But that said, it's got a fairly long barrel, and that leverage, combined with the smoothness of the gas ram power plant, I think it's the sort of gun that young shots and shooters of a smaller build should be able to manage. There's an anti-bear trap mechanism to keep your fingers safe, but that means the gun can't be decocked. The automatic safety catch is a really nice touch. It clicks on when you cock the gun to make it safe, and it's in a great position to thumb forward when you're ready to take the shot, when it then clicks onto the little red indicator to say that the gun's ready to fire. It's resettable, and my only gripe is the fact that where it is, if you're using quite a low scope like this one, it's tricky to get your thumb underneath the scope to draw the safety back, and maybe a little bit more grip on the top of there would have made that task easier. The trigger's a 2-stage unit. It's just a simple curved metal blade. It's quite a long reach to the trigger, and I think that's going to be quite a stretch for anybody with smaller hands. Also, the first stage is quite heavy, and there is a tiny bit of creep. That said, it's consistent, and it is predictable once you've had a bit of practice with it. Let's let rip on some targets and see what it can do. I'm very happy with that group, especially given my lack of experience shooting recoiling air guns and this gun's price point. It's not an air rifle you're going to win any field target competitions with, but then it doesn't pretend to be. I actually snatched that shot off to the right, but the bulk of that group, that was shot at 20 metres with the 2.2 test gun. They're going to fall more or less underneath the size of a 50p piece. So, as well as a gun that's going to be absolutely brilliant fun for backyard plinking, I reckon it would also lend itself, with practice, to close to medium range pest control. The whole package comes together to perform very well. The gas ram internals are knocking out shots at just over 11 foot-pounds, and they're doing that very smoothly. The firing cycle is definitely more crisp and faster than that I would usually associate with a spring-powered gun in this price bracket. And there's also none of the twang and reverberation that I'd usually associate with firing an affordable Springer. I'm pleasantly surprised. This gun's got a price tag of under £180, yet it's rattling off pretty good groups straight out of the box. Not only is the Webley VMX D-RAM an affordable airgun, it's also fairly accurate. I reckon it's the sort of gun that's really going to appeal to anybody that wants a backyard plinker, but maybe wants to take on the occasional close to mid-range pest control assignment. That's it for this week, but we'll be back again in a fortnight. That's Thursday evening at 7:30 p.m. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.